Hi, this is John Eisenhower with Henchel's Yoga Studio. I'd like to explore figure fours today. It's a common thing that we do in yoga practices. I think maybe people do them just for stretching. I also have my helpers, Abby and Lucy, so hopefully they can help us with exploring figure fours today. So we've often taken them, I think, for granted in yoga practices. And when I did series for yoga for snow sports, I found that a lot of the people that came to those classes, that a figure four was very difficult for them. Figure fours are about external hip rotation. And there's just, like I said, a variety of different ways you can do them. You notice that I'm sitting in a cross-legged pose with Abby's help. And I'm using just a little bit of height. If you don't have your own bolster at home, you can certainly use a pillow. But it's a way that we often start a yoga practice, and here's Lucy helping. It's often a way that we start a yoga practice, and it's already a way to start opening up our hips. So I'm going to move off of the bolster and onto the mat. Continuing to warm up, I'll go ahead and just draw my knees to my chest, give myself a hug, and then take that into a single leg to the chest stretch, grounding my heel down into the mat. I give a little gentle pressure with my knee against my hands while I'm drawing my knee to my chest. I'll take that to the other side, extend my leg out, little gentle pressure against my hands as I draw my knee to my chest. Back to the other side, and I'll just go ahead and start to rotate my hip in the joint. And I'll do it in both directions. If you're timing your breath, it feels good to exhale as you come back, inhale as you move away. But as everything in breathing, try it the different ways, see what feels best to you. I'm trying to keep my hips and pelvis pretty level on the floor and just focus on moving my hip in the joint. I'll do that on the other side. Sometimes this is called stirring the pot. I'll go back and draw my knee in, extend my leg out, and then just open my knee out to the side, supporting it with my arm. If I give my leg a little bit of support, it allows the muscles to relax a little bit. If I just had it in space, I might be trying to hold on. So I try to support it just a little bit. I'll take that to the other side. And then just coming back to adding a little bit of motion. I'll draw the one knee into the chest, and then just as I point my toes, I'll raise my foot, and then I'll lower, raise, and lower. And just doing this a few times just warms everything up in my hip area. Pointing and flexing my feet just feels good. Kind of wakes everything up in my legs a little bit. Take that to the other side. You can always point and flex your feet in the opposite directions. This is what feels good to me, is to point when I come up and flex when I go down. But certainly you can do what feels good to you. Now, as we move into the figure four, now that we're kind of warmed up, probably the first thing I like to do is simply take my ankle, place it across my thigh, and just be here for just a moment or two. And just encourage this knee to go in that direction using my muscles. I find that I need just a little bit of core engagement, try and keep my pelvis and my back neutral on the mat. And I'm probably going to shorten this a little from what might be ideal. I have heard that you may want to even hold these sorts of things at least maybe 90 seconds or more for your body to finally decide that it's willing to give up holding on. But for the sake of what we're trying to do today, I won't spend that much time with it. I will take it to the other side. I keep my foot flexed, bringing my toes back toward my shins, just to protect my knee. Our faithful Lucy and Abby helping. So the next thing I like to do is go ahead and take my hands toward my shin. Sometimes you might think it's good to take and push this leg away, but I think it works better for me to actually draw my ankle toward my chest, toward my center. And as I draw it in, then with my muscles, I'll push my knee, I'll try to move my knee away. It's almost like you're holding onto a railing and pulling just a little bit, or even just stabilizing it. It's kind of up to you. We'll do that on the other side. And I'll just gently hold here. And again, encouraging this to go that way with my muscles. Part of that is actually tightening through my glute. So in addition to the external hip rotation that the figure four does for us, you can also get some glute awareness and a little bit of work with your glute. So the next step would be to go ahead and lift up this other leg, bringing yourself into a little bit deeper figure four. You can grasp behind your thigh, and again, as you're drawing your leg in, I'll push slightly away with my leg, and there's some gentle core engagement here. This allows me to keep a neutral spine on the mat. Depending on your body and your flexibility, you may also be able to reach and come onto the area around underneath your knee. Draw this in farther. For me, I end up rounding my back a little bit. Sometimes that feels good, but that's kind of up to you, and it does depend on your flexibility in your body. For me, I can keep a more neutral spine if I have my hands on the back of my thigh. So I'll go ahead and take that to the other side. And then what I like to do in this position is come back to that raising and lowering of my leg. So when it's up high like this, the figure 4 feels different than when my leg is down lower. And you just can do this for yourself and see the differences that you might feel. Feels good sometimes to raise and lower, or just simply have it up tall. Again, depends really on what you're trying to accomplish. I'll do that on the other side. But for those of us with not only tight hips but tight hamstrings, get a little combination here can help out a little bit with the back of your leg, with your calf and your hamstrings. So then another way that we can use the figure 4 is we can add a figure 4 to bridge pose. So you can start out in that basic figure 4 position, and then you can raise up into a bridge pose. And sometimes this gives you a little extra ability to open up that external rotation at your hip. I'll come down gently here and take that to the other side. Try and get my shoulder blades wrapped underneath my back. As I raise up, I take care that my neck is neutral. You might see me adjusting it just a little bit. And come down out of that gently. Then doing a figure 4 at the wall is another variation. You can bring your leg up onto the wall, bring that foot across your thigh. This may be great for you. You may feel like you want to increase that sensation. You can increase that by drawing your foot down the wall, and pretty natural, easy way to just come into a little bit more extension. Take that to the other side. You'll notice I'm not real close to the wall. Gives me a little bit more leeway with how I move my leg up and down the wall. If you're a little closer, it's more difficult. I'll go ahead and move back onto my mat, a little bit farther back. And so at the end of most practices, we'll do some sort of stretching. So this has been a pretty gentle exploration of figure 4, but here's how that could play out at the end of a practice, or if you're just interested in doing some twisting. If you take your feet wide on the mat, let your knees come together, and then if you let your knees fall to the side, starting into a twist, you can take this one foot, place it up, this time on the outside of your thigh. Let your body just slowly come down into a twist. If you'd like to kind of control how much you twist, you can also have your hand right in this area with your wrist. Provide just a little bit of support. You could have a block, but even just your wrist like this can control that some. Again, a little bit of core engagement to protect your back. And we take that in the other direction. Good to move in and out of twists slowly. And then there is actually what we would call a figure 4 twist. So in a case like that, bring yourself into the figure 4. Move your hips toward the knee that's to the side. That helps keep your spine aligned. Bringing it back to center. Raising your hips up again. Getting centered. This time with the left leg up, I will move slightly to the left, coming down to my right for a figure 4 twist. Coming back to center. We'll grab my bolster. And so to close out today's session, figure 4s are a very accessible way to help you with external hip rotation, external leg rotation, thigh rotation. That's very useful for skiers as they turn one way. They have an internal rotation with one leg and an external with the other. It is certainly useful to us in our daily lives. And as you do your yoga practice, more advanced poses like tree all depend on that ability to externally rotate that leg, being this would be the general position that you would end up in tree. So I hope you've enjoyed our session today on exploring figure 4s, and hope to see you next time. And until then, namaste.